Hello Techies, welcome back to our channel UiPath by Sujitha. In this video we are going to learn about data tables. How many types, in how many ways we can create data tables in UiPath Studio. Before that, we have covered variables. We have learned about different types of variables, that means different data types and variables. So now in continuation to that concept, we are going to learn about data tables. If you have not yet gone through those videos, please watch those videos before you say this. Okay. So for that, go to our channel and just type variables or data types. Okay. So let us see data tables. What is a data table? Data table is a type of variable that can store data as a simple spreadsheet with rows and columns. Very clear, right? Data tables. Data in a table, right? So when we want to store the data in a format, in a table format, where it is similar to spreadsheet with rows and columns. In such scenario, we can use this type of variable, that is data table variable. Okay. Now, for beginners, let us start with the spreadsheet, the concept. Okay. So, when you open any Excel file, right? Let me minimize this. Yeah. When you open any .xls or .csv or .xlsx files, you should learn about few terminology here. That means workbook, worksheet, rows, columns, sheets and all, right? So this is nothing but your workbook. Whenever you are going and opening any, let me show you. This is my file, okay, where I am extracting some data into the CSV file or an XLS file, okay, or XLX file, where if you open this, this is considered as a workbook. Okay. Now, if you could see here, there are multiple sheets in it. Okay, this is one sheet and this is going to be another sheet, and when I click on this, I am going to create open one more sheet. So all these are considered as worksheets. Altogether, it is a workbook, that is the file, which is nothing but this file is called a workbook. And the sheets, the pages inside this are considered as worksheets. Okay. Now, if you could see here, let me move to this export data. If you see here, this first one, whatever I have selected, is considered as a row, where we have some 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. All these are columns. Column A, column B, column C, column D, column E, and so on. Okay. And these are rows. Clear? Fine. Now, in order to get a value from this, say for example, I just want to get this value. This is nothing but 11,499. How to get? I am supposed to give its path. That means C column and 6th row. Fine. C6. Okay. This is nothing but the cell. Okay. Cell value. Okay. So these are rows. Fine. These are rows. Selected ones are rows and these are columns. And when you want to, when you indicate a single part of this, that is nothing but a cell. So it contains many cells. See, all these are cells. Okay. So we have learned about workbook, worksheet, column, row and a cell. Okay. Just as a recap. Okay. Because without knowing this, you may not understand this data table concept. Okay, for beginners. Now let us dive into this data tables concept. So whenever we want to work with similar kind of spreadsheet, or where the data is into rows and columns, which is very similar to this Excel, or which is very similar to a table in a database, we are going to use this data table variable. Okay, fine, clear, right? Now quickly make a note of what we have learned so far. So as I said, we can identify each piece, or we can say that cell value, as using its unique column and row coordinates. That means, say for example, C6, okay, column value, C is column and 6 is the row number. So that means from this what you can understand, columns will be identified using the alphabet caps, okay, capital letter, and rows with numbers, right? Fine, clear. Now you can ask this, fine Sujitha, this is what we have learned, data table is so and so and workbook or worksheet is so and so, then what is the difference between data tables and the worksheet? You may ask this. For that, let me make you clear. Data table is a in-memory representation. Data table is an in-memory representation of database table, where everything, whatever is there in the Excel, we can store it as a table, tabular representation. Okay, everything will be in rows and columns. Whereas the Excel sheet is a visual representation of the same data, where we can modify that visual representation into flow chart, or a bar diagram, a pie chart, right? Visual representation of data. Okay, data, visual representation of data having different visualization options, such as pie chart and all, right? Now I'll just quickly show you this, how it looks and all. In variables, when we create any variable, say tt, what I can say, like employee details, fine. Naming convention, you might have understand this, data table, that means I took it as dt. Okay, so now you could just browse for types and you could just type data table. Okay, and it is under system.data data table. Fine, save it. Also, please keep this in mind that we are supposed to initialize this data table whenever we create a new one. That means new system.data.data table. Okay, fine. So this is how we are going to create and initialize a data table. Now there are different ways to create a data table using other methods also. I'll let you know about each of these options. Okay, so I hope you are making all these notes, right? You are taking a key highlights of this video. Activities or methods to create data table. First one is build data table activity. Now let us see what it is. Let us move on to our studio. Okay, just type for in activities panel, just type for build data table. Okay, under data table you could see this build data table. What it says, creates a data table according to a specified schema included in UiPath system activities. So just drag and drop this, and you could see here it is asking to create a data table. And even in properties panel you could see that output is a data table. Fine. Now let us create this. Before telling this, I just want to make sure what exactly this do. So that is the reason I am not giving a definition directly, rather will show you in real how it works. Okay, so how we are using this build data table activity, we just drag and drop this build data table to our sequence, then we just clicked on the data table. Okay, so it says something, let us see. Creates a data table according to a specified schema. I'll let you know what is that means. So this is the build data table wizard, where you could see something in columns and something as rows. Very similar to our Excel sheet, right? If you see, this is all columns and rows. It is showing the same way. Now you could see a pencil mark, pencil icon, right? On mouse over to it, it says edit column. So when I want to rename or rename the column or to change the data type of the column, I can use this pencil icon. Okay, I'm just going and changing this. Say for example, employee first name. Fine. And I could change this string data type, and I can mention whether to allow null values or not, and can give some default value also. And if it is going to be unique, I can give this. Okay, or because all these conditions can be performed on the data what we are going to provide here for this particular column, and we can provide maximum length. So these many options are available using a build data table activity. Similarly, now I'm updating some value here. Okay, Sujitha. Okay, and maybe John. Okay, so this is how I can create my data table. Last name. Say, okay, let me make it to string. And data type have all the data in this. Yes, I have not given any data. And maximum length I can say some 100. Okay, I'm going to make this. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to give some data here. John David. Okay, so when I say okay, it is going to create that data table into a, see, I am going to use the same DT what I have created earlier, or you can use Ctrl+K, which will automatically create a data table for you. So this is how we can use build data table to create a data table. So this is one option. Okay, what is the benefit of using this? We can have options to go for these null checks, right? Whether to accept the null values or not. Null values related check, and one more we have unique. Fine. Also we can provide the default value, and we can change the data type of the column, and we can change the column name. Fine. So this way we can use this build data table activity. Fine. Also we can add the columns, right? Say I can say that employee number. Okay, auto increment can be used if it is an integer. See, many options are there. Okay, fine. So we can, this is the benefit of using build data table. We can add, we can configure the columns as well as the values, default values also. Okay, so this is one option, and let us move on to second option. What is the second one? How to create a data table. Can anyone guess? Read range activity. So we are very familiar with this activity, right? So let us see quickly. Just go to your activities panel and type read range. We have something called read range and read range workbook. Fine. First of all, let us see read range workbook. What it is doing, reads the value of a range in range Excel format from a spreadsheet as a table. If range is not specified, the whole spreadsheet is read. If range is specified as a cell, the whole spreadsheet starting from that cell is read. Okay, now let us see what is read range. Reads the value of an Excel range as a data table. Both are same, right? Let us see something here. I'll let you know. I'm just dragging and dropping read range workbook, where it is expecting the file name. Fine. Where is the file? Okay, let me see whether the file is available or not. It is available, and let me just close this, save it, save, yes. Now I'm going to refresh this, where I could see the same. Now what I'm doing, I'm going to give this Excel file name. Oh no, it is, okay, it is CSV file, right? Okay, let me change this. For that, I'll take one sample XLS file. Just let me refresh this. I have created a employee data.xls. Now I'm going to select this file using this. Okay, this is what I have created. So it is expecting this workbook to be read into a data table. So that is meant by read range workbook. Now I'm going to give sheet name. Fine, I am leaving this range as empty. That means it will collect all the data. Okay. Now my data table, my output of this read range workbook activity is going to be, let me use Control K, dt emp data. Fine. Now I'll quickly go to variables and see it has created a data table variable. Okay. Now I'm just saving this, and you can run this. Okay, so fine, it has executed. Okay, that means it has the data, this value, this dt underscore emp data has been filled with the data from our workbook. For that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a log message. What I'm going to do, I'm going to find okay, I'm just for our understanding, I'm just printing this. Okay, no need to concentrate much on this, because our scope of this video is to understand the different ways to create a data table. Okay, so this has given some 3, because I have 3 rows in that particular Excel, in this Excel. Okay, so now let us use the data range activity. 3 rows are there. Okay, now let us see the other one, that is data read range. Read range Excel. Read range Excel. Now when I drag and drop this, it is giving me an exception. What it is? activity is valid only inside the use Excel file scope. Okay, understood? So it is not supposed to be used independently, similar to workbook. It is to be through Excel scope alone. So we are supposed to use this activity inside the Excel scope. Okay, so the and the functionality will be the same. Range we will be giving some A1 till A10, or maybe we can ignore this and we can save this to DT. So here we can give DT employee data. So similar, but we are supposed to keep this inside a Excel scope, Excel application scope. Got it, right? Now I'm just moving on to the next method. So we have read range activities. One is using read range workbook and the other one is read range, that is for Excel. Both are for Excel, but the only difference is workbook can be this read range workbook can be executed without Excel Microsoft Office Excel installation, whereas read range Excel will work only if the installation is there in that particular machine. Okay, also the workbook cannot work if you have opened the Excel file. Okay, whereas read range Excel will work even though if you open the Excel file at background. Okay, so now let us move on to the other option, that is read CSV activity. When you read a CSV file, the output of that CSV file is going to be stored into a data table. That is the functionality of read CSV activity. Here read range activity using read range workbook or read range Excel, we are going to read an Excel file where the data will be stored into a data table. That is how the data table will be created, right? Similarly, this is going to work on the CSV file. Now let us quickly see what it is. I'm going to just use read CSV. Yes, this is the first one. Just mouse over to it. It says copies all entries from a specified CSV file to an Excel range, table or sheet, or saves the data for later use in the app automation. Though it is not very much frequently used case, but this is also one method, one option where we are going to utilize data table concept. That means where we can create, where the data can be stored into a data table while reading this CSV. For that, quickly we have already one CSV available here, right, in the project. So I'm going to call this same data table will be the output. Fine. And there is an option called has headers or not. If you go to properties of this CSV, it is giving, and delimiter we can give this tab, comma, semicolon. Fine. And the file path can be given here because I have created, I have just browsed for the file, right? Otherwise you can give file path. Okay, so ignore codes if selected and fields in the so all these are the properties of this particular activity. This activity can also create a data table. That is what our major agenda, and we are just concentrating on the different activities or methods in order to create a data table. Fine. So this is one option. Now let us move on to the other one. We'll check for the functionality of each and every activity later in our coming videos, but now let us just move on to understand the different methods or different activities which are available in order to create a data table on a high level. Okay, fine. Yeah. Another method is data scraping action. Using data scraping method, we can extract the data, structured data from an application or a browser or from a document into a data table. That is how we are able to create a data table in this method. Okay, now let us quickly go through that. Yes, So data scraping method, if you could see here, table extraction. Let me move on to the, okay, let me change the scope, or you can use table extraction also, but since that we are talking about this, let me just shift to classic. Fine. So data scraping. So for that, what I'm going to do, I just want the structured data. Structured means this is very similar to a Excel, right? Rows and columns, which is placed in an order, right? Fine. Now data scraping. See, it is asking me to select the first value. So I'm selecting this, and then yes. So all these data been captured, extracted. When I say finish, it is the data is going and stored into a data table. Just go to properties. It has automatically created a data table. If you see here the output, there is this. Yeah, this is a data table. Fine, with the scope. Okay, so this is one method where you can create a data table. Okay, now let us move on to the other method, that is using generate data table from text activity. Okay, now let us see. As I said, data scraping, this also is available. Let me just move on to, if I change this to modern, you could see this table extraction. Another one is, it is very similar with minute tweaks. Okay, so just keep in mind that this is one more option, that is one more method to create a data table. Now let us concentrate on this generate data table from text activity. Okay, so what I am going to do, in activities panel, I'm going to search for this activity, generate data table from text. It is also under data table. Fine. Now on mouse over it, what it says, generates a data table from structured text. Structured in the sense we are supposed to give some delimiters to make sure to understand this, to make sure what is a column and what is a row. For that, let me minimize this. I'm going to drag and drop this. So it is expecting some input which should be in a structured text, and options to fine tune that input as well. Okay, and final table, that means creating a data table. So what I'm just giving some data table. So this is how it is going to generate a data table. Now let us try to use this first. Let me give some input here, where I'm going to use name and age. Yes, fine. Now let us just save this. Okay, this needs to be as a string, right? So let me give this in string. Yeah, let me open this in options, where I'm going to use some column separators. Say for example, new line is my column separator. Okay, so using the options, we can just select the separators, new line separator or column separator, and we can adjust the headers as well, and we can preview the data what we have shared also. Okay, fine. Now let us quickly go back to our, yeah. So these are different options, different activities or methods which are used to create data tables. Please keep this in mind, because whenever there is a need to deal with data tables, when you are going to work on any structured data, you should you should be in a position to finalize which method to follow, whether you need to go for build data table activity, or read range, or read CSV, or data scraping, or generate data table from text activity. Based on the need, you should be able to decide which one is the best method or best activity to use. Okay, so that is the reason, keeping this as a major concept, I just covered all these 5 different methods or different approaches in order to create a data table as the topic for this video. So if time permits, we can just have one use case for each of these method or each of these activities in our coming videos. Okay, so just a quick recap. We have learnt about data table, what is a data table, and we have learnt about the workbook, worksheet, cell, row, column, all these things. And also we came to know that we have something called alphabetical, we have columns and rows which can be identified using the capital alphabet, or numbers using a similar thing like C6 or A5, something like that. Okay, in order to identify a single cell value, okay, in a data table or in an Excel. Now next, what we have learned, we have seen the difference between an Excel and data table. Data table is an in-memory representation of database table, whereas Excel is a visual representation of data having different visualization options. Then we have concentrated on the different activities or methods to create a data table. We have build data table activity, read range activities. One is read range workbook and read range Excel, and read CSV activity. Then we have seen data scraping action, that is data scraping method using the data scraping wizard option. Next, generate data table from text activity. So I hope you got a clear information on data tables and different data table creation methods of data table. If you like this video, give a like, and please do subscribe the channel for more videos. Also, please share with your friends and colleagues on about this channel and videos. Thank you so much for the support so far. Meet you through our next videos. Till then, take care, happy learning and happy automating. Bye bye.